Able team, and we have our Council Roundtable Commissioner Laura Karen with us today. Your roundtable team this evening will be Bob Bitgood on the audio and visual, Jeremy Labonte, and of course myself, Lisa Colza-Kenyon. Could we please stand for the prayer and put yourself in a form of reverence? With the turning of the season, we see your handiwork, buds opening, streams running clear, and skies growing bright. Bless our journey as we set out on our new adventures. Fill our hearts with wonder, our minds with wisdom, and our hands with the willingness to help and protect. Let the Scout Law be our compass, and may the season's renewal remind us to grow in courage, friendships, and service to others. Amen. Jeremy, could you please come up and do the opening? Thank you, Ryan.
Oh, are there any questions?
Thank you, Ryan. Just shut. Thank you. Before it sounds off again, I'll move over here. All right. Anyone from, Rob, do you have any announcements? Okay, excellent. Anyone else in attendance? All right, no. All right. So could I have Flo Stevens come down for a public service announcement?
Good evening. Can you hear me all right?
I'll stand closer.
There you go. Hi. I'm here to advertise Chuck Wagon. I hope many of you know what it is. We have done it annually now for a long time. It is coming on May 16th at Buck Hill. If anyone would like more information, I do have all the paperwork that's online. The site did go live yesterday, so you're able to register. If you are coming and you know what you want to do, please see me so we can sign up for stations, because unless you've only got like 2 kids coming, you don't need to run a station. That's how we have our fun. and that's what makes it fun. This year, we do have a food truck coming, but it's not the same one. We have Turner Brothers LLC. They'll be joining us. And the big change is the Camporee Overnighter is no longer open to just the Webelos. It is now for everyone. So it will be a regular camporee for everybody. You will learn the advancement of Let's Camp, no matter what age group you are. And the difference is you'll be providing your own food for the overnighter. So we're not doing that for you, but you still get the patch and all that stuff. Any questions? Yes. Mario Mania. Anything else? All right, come see me if you have anything you want to talk about or any questions, and I will be glad to help you.
Thanks, Lisa. Thank you. Sure, Ryan, come on back up. I'll just stand close to you so you don't have to have a microphone.
Thank you. There is one more thing. I know district awards are coming up. The Northwests are the 13th. I don't know when the Southwests are because I'm not going. Because it's just not as cool as the Northwest. But I believe just about every unit from the Northwest in this room has at least one nomination and will likely be getting at least one award. So make sure it's in your calendars. May 13th. You can register now on the council website. Thank you.
Thank you. May 21st is the Southwest. Well, guess what? We have a safety moment today, right? And of course, how many units don't go camping, right? We always have to be safe on those campouts. So when you go on a campout, we have to decide who, what, when, where, how, and why, right? All of these are so specific because we have to remember supervision, assessment, fitness skills, and of course, equipment and environment, right? To be very safe. So how many people ever looked at a campout safety checklist before? Right? Thank you. I'm glad it's out there and it helps you out. And of course, it tells you all the documentation that you need, especially Guide to Safe Scouting, right? You don't want to have those Cub Scouts doing things that are not age appropriate, as well as Scouts BSA doing that. Your training, make sure everybody has youth protection #1. Also hazardous weather, right? If you are a direct contact leader, everybody has to be hazardous weather trained. Try to have someone with CPR and first aid. Your drivers, did you ever have a car checklist, motor vehicle checklist? Make sure that everyone that is transporting scouts has to have insurance, a license, of course. Make sure that their car is inspected and in good working order. They also like you to look at their tires if they're less than 6 years old. Have a spare on hand just in case. You never know those moments where a tire pops with our lovely potholes around here in New England. Make sure the horn is operational, of course. Maybe you're driving too fast and you have when you're not supposed to, so another driver can honk at you. How many people get their trailers inspected, right? If you're a Scouts BSA person, you should have that done on a yearly basis too. Everything needs to be safe. Make sure you also have like an emergency repair item, cell phone. Everybody has one of those, of course. A charger, maybe, maybe not. Weather emergency equipment. You know, New England, it could snow tomorrow, right? So make sure you have a shovel in the trailer. And of course, you should have, just in case on hand, BSA incident report forms, because you never know what might go awry, whether it might be a medical issue or another type of issue. But did you really ever go in depthly? What about a flying plan checklist? I thought this was creative because what if your unit is going flying to the sea base? I would love to do that. So there's 4 lovely papers that you should be looking out and filling out on your journey to say sea base, or maybe your unit's going to Philmont. So who? Let's get back to what we started here. Decide on who's going, where, what you're doing. What if you're going to work on the firemanship? Do you have all your supplies? When is a good time too? You don't want to go in the snow when you need to do something outdoors that requires sunlight. Where? We always have to figure out where the scouts want to go, right? It's not where the leaders want to go. Those scouts want to know and go places that are fun. And of course, how we're getting there, whether it's car, train, plane. And why are you doing it? Is there a purpose for this? Is it a fun trip, an extra trip, or is it to work on rank requirements, or a portion of both? And here we have the camping safety checklist. We also have it in the back. We have a couple of copies over there. If you need another copy, please let one of the roundtable people know. And we'll gladly get you a copy. Make sure you have the documents needed. Medical records, of course, right? Guidebooks and maps. You don't want to be stuck out on that journey and not have anything. Permission slips. What if the scout requires medical attention? You will always want to have that. Training. Youth protection is a must. CPR, first aid, like we said. Hazardous weather, of course. Safety afloat if you're doing boating or swimming. Or specific training. Trek safely. Planning. Become familiar with your campsite and location. Do some research. Weather. I know Buck Hill, it could be beautiful one second, then all of a sudden it gets chilly. So you have to be prepared for all. License and permits, maybe you need those. Project or activity guidelines, right? Scouts can't use chainsaws, so you have to make sure you have someone trained on how to use those chainsaws and wear the proper equipment. Vehicles, like we said, trailer requirements, emergency planning, cell phone program. This should be age appropriate, as we said, guide to safe scouting, and safety moment resources. So just in case you need some safety moments, and go to Camp Out Safety Checklist, and here we are. Any questions or concerns? Yes. That is a council question. Ryan? I do know at Yagu we do have CPR training and recertification there. Then they can still come to Yagu. It's probably during the week.
Thursday night.
Thursday nights. Yes, Mr. Kenyon.
Allow local opportunities that are free, certify you in CPR, first aid. So check your community calendars.
Community calendars, yes. I know the Arnold's Mills House has many, in Cumberland, has many opportunities for CPR. And I believe also our safety complex also had some of those available. Right. If we do find more opportunities, we'll send them out some. You're welcome. If not, just email me. Will do. All right, so we have some awesome scouters doing our breakout sessions today. Oh, don't run away. So we will be having Matt Keelick from 303 Swansea, an awesome, awesome leader. He will be taking you on the Cub Scout programming planning in the other room. And in this room, you will have Rob Coates, our council commissioner, going over ILST and annual planning. So take a few minutes, regroup, and we'll see you in the round breakouts. If you haven't signed in, please sign in at the back table. Also, if you have any feedback for us, please fill out a lovely index card and give us some recommendations for the upcoming season.
I was putting the filter on already.
I brought the rotten tomatoes I can throw away.
Am I on? I am on? Okay, very good. So good evening, everybody. Tonight, my name is Rob Coates, your council commissioner. And tonight I am going to be talking about ILST and troop annual training. Now, some might ask the timing, why now? Well, when I was Scoutmaster, this was the time when we would start considering hosting our elections for the next program year, right? We did have it to where we were on a calendar year, and I won't belabor this point, but we shifted it to a Yagoo thing. Leaving Yagoo, our leadership would be done for the year. And what that did was it gave the incoming leadership an entire year of working together and having Yagoo being that capstone event at the end of the year where they got to celebrate all of their successes. So I say that because we would start with elections about now or into May. And then we would get to where I stumbled upon this thing called Introduction to Leadership Skills for Troops, right? If you go to Scouting America, if you just Google this, you'll find it online. It's an 83-page guide that your youth with your help, can run a very effective class or seminar on leadership. So I'll point you to that and I will get into it. So ILST and annual planning. So tonight we're going to be looking at two tools that determine whether a troop is truly youth-led or is it adult-led. ILST and the troop annual planning process. These are simple tools, but they have a big impact on how your troop can operate. Next. Good. So youth leadership drives success. In Scouts BSA, the troop is intended to be youth-led, not adult-run. You're going to hear this a lot, right? That means that the senior patrol leader actually leads the troop, that the patrol leaders lead their patrols, and the youth leaders run the meetings, plan the activities, and make the decisions. Adults, well, we provide the safety, the coaching, and the resources. We step in only when necessary. When youth truly lead, they take ownership of the program, engagement increases, and leadership skills actually develop. If adults plan everything, the troops may run smoothly, but the scouts learn very little. This connects directly to the saying that we all have probably heard: train them, trust them, and let them lead. Planning creates direction. A troop without planning tends to repeat the same activities, scramble week to week, and frustrate other youth leaders. Annual planning solves this problem. The annual planning conference, usually led, the annual planning conference led by the SPL and the PLC, sets monthly themes, campouts, and major activities. I'm sorry. Advancement opportunities at high adventure or special trips. Planning gives the troop a roadmap for the year, better preparation, and stronger participation. It also allows families to plan ahead. These tools build strong troops. The tools that we're referring to again is ILST and troop annual planning. ILST teaches youth leaders what their position means, how to lead, communication, and teamwork. Annual planning allows the youth leaders to apply those skills at the troop program. ILST is the first level of leadership training for scouts who hold or will hold leadership positions. It teaches what leadership looks like in scouting, how the troop leadership structure works, basic leadership skills like communication, teamwork, and problem solving. The goal is to give youth leaders the tools and the confidence to lead their peers, not just hold the title. It sets expectations. For example, the senior patrol leader runs the troop the troop meetings and leads the PLC or Patrol Leaders Council. The patrol leaders lead their patrols and represent their patrols at the PLC. The quartermaster, the scribes, the instructors, and other leaders all support the troop in other ways. Without training, many scouts think leadership positions are just patches on a sleeve. ILST helps them understand what is expected of them, how they contribute to the troop's success, and that leadership is about service and responsibility. It builds a youth-led culture. The biggest purpose of ILST is culture. It reinforces that scouts lead the troop, the Patrol Leaders Council makes programmatic decisions, and adults coach and guide rather than run the meetings. When ILST is done, and done regularly, youth leaders take ownership, patrol leaders actually lead their patrols, and adults step back in a more comfortable manner. Over time, this does create a youth-led culture that scouting is designed to have. Now, this seems simple, But those words come directly from Scouts BSA Leadership Development Framework, used in both ILST and NYLT. They describe the three parts of effective leadership development: know and roles. This is the knowledge component. Scouts must first understand how the troop is organized, what each leadership position does, how the Patrol Leaders Council works, and how decisions are made in a youth-led troop. So the know is understanding the job. B, in leadership. This focuses on character and attitude of the leader. Scouts learn that leadership is about servant leadership, setting the example, living the Scout oath and law, and building trust in their patrol and in their troop. It's less about authority and more about who the leader is as a person. Examples are being trustworthy and dependable, listening to others, and supporting fellow Scouts. So B is the kind of leader you are. And then do in action. Leadership ultimately shows up in what a Scout actually does. This includes leading the patrol meetings, running the troop meetings, planning the activities, solving the problems, and helping other Scouts succeed. Leadership is learned by doing, not just by talking about it. So the do is putting the leadership into practice. So to summarize, we have an element in the meeting: know, understand the role; B, live the values of leadership; and do, take action and lead. So what does good ILST look like? Well, it's interactive. ILST should not be a lecture. The training works best when the Scouts participate in discussions, work through the scenarios, solve the problems together, and share experiences from their patrols. Some examples are: what makes a good patrol leader? Or what would you do if your patrol isn't listening? And it does include short teamwork exercises in the program. The goal is for your Scouts to think about leadership and practice it, not just listen to the adults. And so after the election, ILST should happen very soon after these leadership elections. Why it matters is because newly elected youth leaders immediately learn their roles. Expectations are clear from the start of their term. Scouts begin their position prepared to lead. Best practice is usually within a few weeks of the elections, often during the troop meeting, weekend session, or a campout. All leaders are included, and it's not just the SPL and the patrol leaders. It should include others like, obviously, the ASPL, the assistant patrol leaders, the quartermaster, scribe, instructor, historian, den chief, chaplain. Each one of those, and there's other positions your troop may have, each one of those will be assigned some responsibility and will require the help of others for them to do their job effectively. Everyone needs to understand how their role contributes to the troop and how they support the patrol method. We connect to real plans. The training works best when it's tied to what the troop is actually doing. Instead of abstract examples, connect the ILST to upcoming campouts, troop meetings, the annual program plans, real challenges that you may have in your troop. For example, use the next campout as a planning exercise. Have the patrol leaders discuss how they will run their patrol corners. Connect leadership roles to the troop annual plan. This helps the Scouts see that the leadership training is immediately useful and not just theoretical. A simple way, to simply summarize this: how ILST works best: it should be interactive, not lecture-based, delivered soon after elections, include all use, and connected to real troop plans. So a little conversation. ILST. How many people in here are familiar with ILST and perhaps have run it with their units? That's good. You'll find that there's conversations that the SPL should lead, right? There's also activities where different people could take over and have problem-solving scenarios, okay? It's really effective that way. And you can say, well, you say immediately engage with these leaders, but if I do ILST in May and their term doesn't start until August for our troop, then what's that about? Well, if you're doing an annual plan, for the if you're doing an annual plan for the next program year, are you going to have your current senior patrol leader lead that effort? Are you going to have the incoming senior patrol leader lead that? So there's an instance where while you might have an existing PLC finishing out their term doing the current year, right? The incoming PLC, and some of them may have different hats, that's fine. The incoming PLC, led by the incoming senior patrol leader, would start to plan the annual planning conference, all of these other things. How are they going to hit the ground running when they return in September if you guys take a few weeks or a month off, that kind of stuff. So does all that make sense? Does anybody have any questions on that? No? Okay. So now we'll talk about training and action. Again, training prepares the leaders. Planning gives them something to lead. Training without a plan does not go very far. Planning without trained leaders can fall apart. Training leads or precedes action. So annual planning. The Troop Planning Conference is where the youth design the program that they want to run. It is a youth-led 12-month plan led by the senior patrol leader and the patrol leader council and supported by the adults. Our steps in planning begin with reflection. Start by looking back at the previous year or previous years. Scouts should be asking questions like, what activities were the most fun? What campouts had the best attendance? What didn't work well? What should we do again? This step helps the PLC learn from the experiences they've had rather than starting from scratch. We then set goals. Next, the PLC identifies what the troop should be accomplishing in the coming year. Goals might include, we want to go on a high adventure trip. We want to increase the amount of camping nights that we have had. We want to help more scouts advance. We want to try new outdoor skills, and we want to do different or more service projects. When they start to list these ideas, it'll give them a sense of purpose for that next year. And then we can begin to brainstorm. The PLC should then be generating ideas for these activities that they just mentioned. Examples again might include campouts, hiking trips, canoeing or kayaking, particular service projects, skills weekends, or other special events. At this stage, the focus is on ideas and on creativity. It is not about narrowing down the field yet. Then we build our calendar. Once these ideas are gathered, the PLC could then begin to place these activities on their calendar. They would typically choose monthly themes, schedule campouts and outings, align the unit's activities with those opportunities that the district and the council might be offering. Like the chuck wagon. Where'd you go? Little plug. This step creates the troops program for the next year. And when you're done with all of that, you want to assign ownership. Finally, leadership responsibility is assigned for, like, a patrol leader may help plan a camp out. An instructor may lead a skill instruction. A quartermaster would know what equipment he needs to prepare. The senior patrol leader could be coordinating all of these events. This ensures that the plan becomes action and not just something listed on the calendar. So the PLC plans the adventure, and then they lead the troop through that. So what does success look like? Well, excited scouts, hopefully, right? When the Patrol Leaders Council plans the program, the activities reflect what they wanted to do. The result, more enthusiasm, better attendance, greater participation. Scouts are excited because they helped choose those activities. The program includes adventure and variety. The troop feels like it's theirs. This could be one of the biggest benefits of youth-led planning. But the published calendar. This calendar lists the troops' meetings, the campouts, and other major activities. It would then help the families plan ahead. It improves attendance and preparation, and hopefully reduces those last-minute scrambles, because none of us have had that. Best practice is to publish that calendar very shortly after the planning conference through either your troop website, email newsletters, printed handouts, and troop management apps. PLC ownership. The most important outcome of all of this is ownership by the Patrol Leaders Council. When the PLC builds the program, again, they take responsibility for making it happen. They lead the planning for each of these activities, and they solve problems along the way. Instead of adults running the program, the PLC becomes the engine that drives the troop. It reinforces, again, that core idea that we are a youth-led troop. So what's the role of the adults? Well, we're coaches. We act as coaches. We help the youth leaders succeed. This means offering advice when it's needed, sharing our experiences, and helping scouts think through their challenges. Coach supports from the sidelines, allowing the youth leaders to develop confidence and skills. We guide. We provide guidance and guardrails. That helps ensure safety. It makes sure that we have alignment with scouting values, and it keeps the planning realistic. Guidance might include reminding the PLC about council events, helping them consider what the weather might be or what logistics might present challenges. It ensures that the plan is achievable, right? The goal is to help the scouts make good decisions, not make the decisions for them. Ask questions. One of the most powerful tools we as adults have is asking good questions. How will the patrols prepare for that trip? Who's responsible for organizing the gear? What's the backup plan if the weather turns? Questions help the scouts think through their plans, discover solutions themselves, and grow as leaders. This is the most important. Do not run the meeting. This is the most important principle. Adults should avoid taking control of Patrol Leader Council meeting, the annual planning conference, troop leadership discussions. If the adults run the meetings, the scouts stop leading. Ownership disappears and the troop becomes adult run. Instead, the SPL leads, the PLC participates, the adults stay in the background. So again, roles of adults: coach youth leaders, guide through the process, ask thoughtful questions, do not run the meeting. So what are the pitfalls? Skipping ILST, well, some troops never conduct introduction to leadership skills for troops after elections. Some don't know that it exists. When this happens, scouts take leadership positions without understanding their roles. The expectations are unclear. Patrol leaders may not know how the PLC is supposed to function. The result is often youth leaders disengage, adults step in to fill the gap, and leadership positions become just the patch on the sleeve. ILST helps prevent this by training the scouts before they begin leading. Adult-led planning is another common issue when the adults plan the troop program instead of the PLC. This often happens because adults want things to run smoothly. Youth leaders are inexperienced. Planning takes longer when scouts do it. But when adults control the program, scouts lose ownership, enthusiasm drops, and the troop becomes again adult-led instead of youth-led. We need to make sure that we stay coaches and guide, not to plan the program. No follow-through. Even when the troop does ILST and holds a planning conference, problems arise if nothing happens afterwards. Signs of this include the calendar isn't used, activities are not assigned to youth leaders, the PLC meetings stop reviewing upcoming plans, and adults take over when challenges arrive. Successful troops review plans regularly at the PLC, assign responsibilities to the youth leaders, and adjust the plan when needed. Planning only works when there is consistent follow-through. We train the youth leaders, we trust them with the plan, the troop becomes truly youth-led. So, I know a lot of that sounds like utopia. It does. But I think that we all could agree. The Scoutmaster before me was the Scoutmaster, no kidding, for 53, 54 years. He did run an ILST-like program. He did. But when I came in, I moved the troop towards more what scouts at the time, BSA, published. Why? Because I wanted that consistent program. Maybe the scout came from a different state, whatever, right? That I like that consistency in planning. Where I'm going though is that while there was the culture of youth-led troops or a youth-led troop, my idea or BSA's idea of the roles and responsibilities and how they were handed out changed. Whether that change was slight, whether it was dramatic, it was change. And it wasn't easy in the beginning. Okay. I would take that senior patrol leader aside in advance of the ILST and have a discussion with him to make sure that he understood this document that he had never seen before, right? If you take that senior patrol leader and stand him up in front of his PLC at that seminar and say, okay, go do this, we all know what that would look like. And it wasn't just 1 year for all of this to work. It took 3 or 4 years, and I would argue, and we would all argue, there's always so much turnover that you seem like you're starting over again. Well, you kind of are. But what's the important bit that came out of that? The culture that came from that. And a lot of us probably see, and I know that our troop is seeing, the average age of seems to be getting younger and younger and younger. But I would argue that that's all the more reason to have the structured program like ILST. Another big thing about it is a lot of the setup for the work has been done for you. How many people are aware of the troop leader, I think it's troopleaderresources.org? Troopleaderresources.org, and I know I've got it pretty close, right? If you pick a theme for the month, like cooking, fishing, pick one. There's a whole guide in there about sample week to week programs, routines, what you could do on your campouts, all of that, that not just you, but your patrol leaders, your senior patrol leader and all of that could take and leverage that material. They don't have to do it from scratch. They do have to prepare those still, and they have the resources to do that. So I bring all of that up. Those are the opportunities for the ILST effort in your annual planning effort to work with all of the other tools that scouting's made available to us and our youth. Okay, so it sounds perfect. Obviously, there's always change, whether it be change in leadership, change in opportunity, all of that stuff. But if you persevere, if you keep going through it and change that culture, hopefully it gets easier. So instead of me just talking, there was a lot of people in here that raised their hand and said that our troop does ILST. I'm interested in how you've done it and did you find it effective? So I'm going to look right at one of my fellow scoutmasters here, right?
So we require T before our election. We require it right after our crossovers. The crossovers were now Scout DSA, opportunity to kind of be introduced at the same time as, you know, ILST. The times that have gone well for us, we've had, when it comes to each position, we'll have that scout real life scenarios that they were going through. And I'll be the runner.
Thanks. I'm giving him the microphone because hopefully you guys know this is also on YouTube. And what I do know is that they can always hear me, but they can never hear the person answering the question.
All right. So, like I said, we do our ILST prior to our elections, just so everybody has a good handle of what it involves. And just like he said earlier, our age of our leaders gets younger and younger every year. So we do that. We allow all the existing youth leaders to present the sheet and say, this is what I do, or this is what I'm supposed to do as the quartermaster. And then I ask them, is this exactly what you did at the quartermaster? Some of them are yes, some of them are no. And then we ask them, what were some of their challenges? So we have them all stand up and participate. One year we had three or four Eagle Scouts that just aged out. So they're all like only a year out. So they knew all the scouts, and they all presented their own section of the ILST. So you had more than one talking head. You just didn't have the SPL up there. We probably had 7 or 8 people up there presenting the training. So it goes well, and it helps them get ready. In our opinion, it helps them get ready for elections. Our youngest scouts that just crossed over actually had pieces of paper in front of them, and they all got up and they wanted to run for something. Scribe, librarian, and they had a whole script in front of them that they used from the ILST thing to basically put it together. Now, I did print out the 83-page, that exact same thing. I did not give it to my SPL during elections. I gave it to him a month, maybe a little bit more than a month in advance, and he looked at it and reviewed it. And he's like, "Wow, this is a lot." So, but it did help, and it works really well for us. So it may not work well for everybody else, but it worked well for us. Oh yes, and it actually helps when we do it during a camp out. We've always done it during a camp out. The last time we did it was during 2 troop meetings, and it was not as good because you have some folks that don't hear because they're not there for 2 meetings because they got other conflicts. But if they're at a camp out, they're captured. Okay, so it tends to work better that way.
Any other adult leaders? And we'll come to you. You don't have to come up front. So you just probably have to.
Thanks. Thank you. So on the planning piece, one of the frustrations that we've been dealing with, and it's a mild frustration, is that we do our planning usually in this late summer. Obviously, we have to have something in place for September. So late summer after Yagu usually is when we start our planning for the next year. We want to do the same thing. We want September to September. Um, we try to sync our calendar with council events, but we're finding that the council events aren't available yet. And a suggestion might be, even if you don't have the ability to like register yet, but at least have the dates kind of out there. And the reason being is because we schedule camp out. Sometimes we can reschedule, it's not a big deal. Sometimes we've put money down or we're out of state and the scouts really want to go to both places, but usually can only go to one. So if we double up in a month or in back-to-back weeks, we're with half the people that we normally would be with. And it's not every month that this happens, but the major ones like Lisa and I talked about, Klondike was one. We got booked with a cabin in a different campsite, so a different uh, reservation. So anyway, anything council can do to try to get that stuff up earlier would be helpful when we're doing our annual planning.
So at least speaking for our unit, so we do, Yagu obviously is the biggest thing we do. It's the highlight of the year. Uh, our troop week is in August, and so the first troop meeting in September is when we hold our troop elections. It's kind of the end of the quote unquote scouting year, and so we'll elect new leaders, and then 2 weeks after that we'll have just a camp out. It's usually in a cabin because it's late September by then, and we will do an ILST, go do the whole ILST training with just the new leaders, usually the PLC and, maybe the scribe and the quartermaster and a few others. We'll do ILST and program planning all in one, big weekend. And now they've been trained in their new positions. They've planned out their calendar for the year. And, come October, they need to hit the ground running. That's something that's worked out well for us. Um, so that's generally been our experience with it. But basically we want to get to the end of the year. Now the scouts, the new PLC, they start in September and October. They have the entire year building up to summer camp. And then, okay, that's the end of the year. Then we hold elections and start the cycle over again. So that's worked well for us. So I got one caveat I want to put on there. One of the things that I struggled with when I was a scoutmaster is when we were at Yagu, knowing that that was going to be the end of the year and troop elections were going to happen next, the older scouts would sometimes hold some informal conferences, and they were planning out who the next senior patrol leader was going to be. And then they'd go around and tell all the other scouts, "Hey, we're voting for Nick. Hey, we're voting for Nick." And I'm like, "No, guys, let them vote for their own choice." So the older scouts will rig the election on you, so watch them.
On the planning front, I've seen I've seen kind of a lot of success where units have the youths do their planning session. They plan out all the activities they want to do for the year, and then what do you need for those activities? You need at least 2 adults. So then either if you don't have the adults there or all the adults there, you then get all the adults together, the committee and the assistant scoutmasters together for an adult planning session without the kids, because then you can participate in beverages of your choice, get together, hang out, and kind of make commitments for who's going to be the adults on what outing. It's also a great way to bring in parents who maybe aren't yet registered leaders. Have them, hang out with you guys, have a nice time, say, hey, you know what? We really need a second person on this trip. Does that sound like something you'd be interested in? All you got to do is register. And see, that right there is a fantastic way to get more leaders in your troop. I've seen it work. Every troop that has tried that method has been successful in it.
So I guess just a clarification. So you have the newly elected or the incoming youth run those roles in the training. The outgoing SPL, where's the best place for them?
I was just going to share what we do in Troop 1139. As far as ILST, we make that a prereq for our PLC, and we typically hold that every April, May timeframe. Matter of fact, we have our next one scheduled for May 9th, for example. And then at Yagu, it's always been a troop tradition in Troop 1139 way before I was ever in the troop. They would hold their elections at Yagu actually on the last night. Now with the change of the schedule at Yagu, that's been a little more difficult. And then the first order of business after Yagu would be the planning session, which is 100% youth boy led. But as far as the planning, I've always kind of looked at it like a flip flop. So we let the boys actually plan or give us their wish list. So this is what we'd like to do this month, this month, this month, this month, this month. And then an adult, usually myself or one of the ASMs, will take it from there just temporarily, where someone's got to vet the calendar, like where does it fit on that month? Because there's so many other things going on with the schools, everything else going on with the troop, so on and so forth. And then some adult's going to be making the call to make the reservation, make the payment, the deposit, whatever else. So once all those things are then locked into place, then we hand it back to the PLC so that they can like fill in the blanks on like, what it is exactly we're going to be doing on that camp out. If it's an activity-based camp out, it may be a self-evident, but as far as a detailed schedule or itinerary to fill in the blanks, we will hand that over to the PLC. So I see it kind of going back and forth between the youth and the adult and back to the youth. That's kind of how we do it. Because I think, the youth don't have the capability of, make the call. I mean, they can make a phone call, but they can't make a deposit for the troop, to make a reservation, or they may not have the visibility of every single thing overall on a calendar, that could affect that weekend. And so those things have to, I think, are vetted by the adults. But besides that, youth led. So that's how we do it. Campfire program. Sorry. We have done it a campfire program, but essentially it is done in the same fashion, whether there's a campfire or not. They're up there in front of their troop, um, doing giving basically a speech, like this is what I would do if I was a patrol leader. This is what I would do if I was your SPL. And so they sign up and they plead their case to their troop, and then we hold an election. So that's how we always do it.
So reaching out to the units here, any questions on implementation, any plans to move forward with this or maybe incorporate more into your regular scheduled program?
Well, I apologize for the technical difficulties earlier. I will run the pre-show now, so those online can see it and those in person can see it. Right, so we have lovely index cards up near the feedback box. The feedback box is red. Thank you so much for showcasing. There are pens there unless somebody walked off with them. There's also some copies of the checklist that you may need for camping during our safe camping materials. We look forward to seeing you again in September because, of course, we have our dinners in our districts in May. June, we'd love to see you at the Boom event, and I believe that's at Bristol Community College. So our June roundtable will be at Bristol Community College, and we'll learn about the new activities that will be happening in council for our signups and things like that. I believe there's a tablecloth offer if you sign up. So brand new tablecloths for recruitment if you sign up early. So there's an incentive for you. So your tables will look awesome for our recruitment day. So these are our activities for this next month. We look forward to seeing you at the upcoming events, whether it be a district dinner or the Boom event. Thank you for being here and giving your time. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you.